her away, Steve.
All right, welcome everybody on this rainy December day.
Hey, it could be worse.
Yeah.
Rain's not the only thing that comes down from the sky.
So pretty usual agenda for today. Next slide. Upcoming workshops. We've got a deep dive into telescopes architecture from Nia and JSON Web Tokens from ACE, both next week, December 9th. And then, are we having the Heroku one next week as well, Professor?
That's what I was wondering. Is number 4 on? I think we need to have confirmation from number 4, but there's a good possibility we'll have a Heroku one as well.
All right then. So
we'll publish
next slide.
That Monday or even earlier if we can.
All right. This week, usual attendance and status updates, and then course evaluations. For whatever reason, due to SIS bugging out, because yay SIS, RCOS is showing up as programming in C. Just know that that is RCOS for whatever reason, and course evaluations are very, very helpful for everybody. So please do them.
I think right now we're sitting at 17%, so we would like to get up to the 65% range. It makes us very happy.
All right, so make sure that you are on arcos.io if you are not already. This is very important so that we have a record of your project for grading and for posterity, and then for recommendations if you need them later. And then grading. This is the big one always. The final commit summary is available. This is the final status update, basically. And you must submit this if you're taking RCOS for credit. Not submitting it is a 10% hit to your grade immediately. We will use it to grade based on your contributions, and please put links to everything you want us to look at in this status update. The mid-year review is basically the same as this, so this is the final review. If you have any questions, talk to your mentors.
And I think this is written, I wrote this, so I wrote it a little poorly. It's 10% of the open source grade, which is like 50% of your grade. So it's 5% on your, 5% overall, but you got to submit it. And that's still pretty substantial. It's half a letter grade. So,
all right.
Go ahead. Do you want to take it?
All right. Yeah, sure. All right, so today, in order to speed up presentations a bit, we're going to have 2 rooms. There's going to be this one with Professor Turner, and then Professor Kuzmin is also going to be hosting a room. There'll be 5 presentations in each room, so make sure if you are presenting today, you know which room you need to be in. And if you want to watch, here's the complete list of who's going to be in what room. If you want to switch back and forth for ones, assume they're all about 10 minutes or so long, so try to guess based on that. And then if you would like to evaluate, the link is also there if you'd like to help us evaluate. Which these evaluations are open to everyone. It's especially nice if mentors do them, but anyone is allowed to watch the presentations and tell us what you thought. Yeah, so you've all seen the schedule already, probably. This is the same rubric as always. Effectiveness of presentation is 30%. Your title, what did you tell us what your project is? How good of a name was it? Is 10%. Your teammates, who did it? Did you all talk? Description of the project organization. So what was it and how was it organized? And then finally, the last bit is progress. How much did you actually get done? This is only 10%, so don't stress if you didn't get that much done.
All right. Nice job, Stephen.
Hmm.
Let's put a few links in here just so you guys can get to them. I see somebody already posted Professor Kuzman's room. Let's post the form as well so that you guys can get to it. We do really appreciate you guys helping us to grade these. One, it helps you to keep to pay attention, which is something that sure, the one is mine. This one is mine, so I think Professor Kuzman, I don't know if his is open yet, but you can just wait in the waiting room till he is. Actually, no, my apologies. Do not go there quite yet because we still have to do our next little thing, which is the attendance for today. Attendance for... there we go. The passphrase for submittee is one more week. Not that I'm counting down or anything. And then here is the venue. Here's the venue check-in. You may have noticed that I actually fixed my display capture, so now I'm capturing my display again. Somehow in the middle of the semester, or 2/3 of the way through the semester, my OBS got switched to pulling from the wrong graphics card when it was trying to do a display pull. So there we go. One more week in submittee. And as always, we will post this video to the Discord so that you guys can get it. I'm sitting at 7 minutes and 22 seconds, so we'll make it 7 minutes and you have to watch of this meeting to get attendance on venue, and that should be good. We are now officially closed on this meeting. I'm going to keep the recording going because we are going to move right into presentations as soon as everybody's had a chance to get where they're going and get themselves ready. I think going back to the full screen, which is no longer showing because I iconified that or got rid of it. What did I do? Here we go. No, that's still not showing. There we go. In my room, we're going to have Padlock News. So Padlock News, I think I saw that you had your slides posted. Do you want to do slides that way, or do you want to present them yourself? I can go to there, or you can present them yourself. Both ways should work, I hope.
Philip, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Do you want to share screen, or do you want just Dr. Turner to?
He
show
can
the
just
slides?
share it, and then we could just say like next slide.
Or ping.
All right, sounds good.
Or beep. Beep is a good one.
Okay.
You guys, you ever have those books that when you were young, they were little picture books with in my time, it was a little record that went along with it, and it would get to the end of a page and it would say beep, and then you were supposed to turn the page and it would continue reading to you? Apparently not.
All right.
So I was well trained. I can do that. Why is it showing presentation rubric? And then did I just insert your slides into the?
No, it's we have the first slide hidden on the left. If you just present, we'll go to this.
You guys were using that to. Awesome. Oh no, it's.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's see. We still have about 57. Let's give it essentially another minute, and then we will. we'll assume that everybody's where they want to be, and I think I see Konstantin Kuzmin is gone. So what I'll do is, since there's 5 of you, we should be okay with time. We actually have till 6:25 on the actual SIS registrar schedule, but I'll give you a ping in about 10 minutes, and that way, if I remember, I will give you a ping in about 10 minutes, and that way, if you've got another 30 minutes to go, you'll know that you're getting to the point of running out of time. Come on, where's my...
Okay.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll just type it into the chat, so I have somebody kind of working on that.
Sounds good.
And let's go.
I don't understand. Okay, so I have somebody kind of working on that.
All right, so I was talking to my watch, apparently, when I thought I was just setting a timer. All right, I think we're good now. Whenever you're ready, we're down to 43 people. It seems about 42 people. It seems about right. Take it away whenever you're ready. This is Padlock.
Okay. Yep. Hello, everyone. I'm Brendan. I'm the project lead of Padlock News. The other members want to introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm Philip Copita. I'm just one of the developers on the project.
I'm Dorothy, and also a developer of the project.
Okay. Yeah. Next slide, please.
All right, so I will go ahead and hop in here. So this is kind of just describing what the project is, describing it, and kind of what our goals were for this semester. So it's, as you can see, a news website which provides articles in a personalized manner without compromising user privacy. So the goal is, many websites these days have a lot of tracking that's involved in order to provide you with personalized news articles, but in our case, we're doing something that wouldn't actually compromise your privacy. And by using Blockstack technology, which uses a form of blockchain, it will store the user's data in a decentralized manner to ensure the privacy and security of its users. This project is brand new this semester. We just got started. And our goal this semester was to build a foundation of the website. So that includes a web scraper that would pull articles from a variety of different news sites, and then designing and implementing an initial user interface, just something that we would be able to kind of test and see if everything is working properly on the back end. And then a natural language processor for articles, being able to find keywords in articles that would end up allowing us to use those keywords in creating personalized results for the users, and then also implementing an API that can search for those articles based on those keywords that were found, and then designing and implementing the front-end user data processor. And next slide.
For the project organization, our I guess would be organization stack was pretty simple. We had GitHub to manage the project, commits, and things like that. Everybody had their own branch, so we had front-end branch, back-end branch, and the web scraper branch. And then we also used Trello to assign tasks to people. And then we used Discord to talk to each other and hold meetings. Next slide. For the front end, I developed basically a minimum viable product. The user is able to select articles they wish to view. It displays them a list of the most recent articles that were uploaded to the server, and then can actually read the articles and look at the author, things like that. So while it's not super fancy, it does work for now. Yep. Next slide.
For the backend, this semester I built a REST API with Node.js and Express, and we have all the articles stored in MongoDB database. So I first created a connection to MongoDB to get articles there. A few API calls. The first one is to get the feed of all the articles. The request get /API/feed all leads to a list of all the articles with their IDs, descriptions, image URLs, and titles. The second call is to get 5 most recent articles. If I do /API/recent articles, it is supposed to return a category called recent news. Here's a screenshot that shows what it looks like. The category here also has category color, category ID, as well as an array of articles that includes the 5 recent articles I found. Next slide. Get an article based on its ID. The API also has a function to find by ID. There's an example of the request. So basically, get /API/article/ID will give us all the information of a specific article with its ID. Lastly, search by keywords. In this example, the keywords are milk and dairy. It will go through all the articles to check if either milk or dairy matches with the keywords of the article. If it does, then the article would be one of the search results to return. Next slide.
Okay, so my part of the project was working on the web scraper, which was implemented in Python. And we used a variety of different libraries I'll talk about a little bit later that allowed us to do the majority of the scraping, because it makes sense to use libraries that are already pre-built. Don't make life harder for yourself. But what the scraper does in general is takes in any number of news site URLs, so just a simple text file with each news website, their homepage on a separate line, and then it will the script will then read those homepages in and actually use one of the libraries to then scrape the homepage of that news site. And then another library will then take those article URLs that were scraped from the homepage and actually download them, get the main text, get the image, get the title, get the date published, whatever information it can gather. And then from that, we're able to try and filter out as many duplicate articles as possible. Sometimes websites will have both an HTTP and an HTTPS version of the article. And there are also some junk articles and stuff that kind of pop up. Web scraping is not the cleanest thing in the world, so we did our best to filter things out as much as possible. And then the script will go through and actually analyze the main text of the article using simple NLP and gets the word frequency distribution. So the top 5 most frequent words in that article's main text will actually become the article's keywords. So something pretty simple, but it's the easiest way right now to kind of figure out, okay, without keywords just given to us, how can we identify these articles and later on be able to return personalized results based on those keywords. And then all of those articles are then, once they've been downloaded, are then inserted and parsed and stuck inside our MongoDB database. Also, in addition to this, we basically take each of the article's URLs and parse it down to what category the article might be in. Every news site uses a different kind of URL kind of format. So some news sites have a date and then a category. Some news sites have an overall category and then a subcategory and that type of stuff. So it makes it kind of difficult to pull out the categories, but we're kind of doing our best by just breaking down each article's URL to whatever the category that news site has specifically listed it as. Next slide. So right now the web crawler is currently manually run. So every so often I'll run it and it'll dump, a few hundred new articles for the news sites we have listed. It'll dump those into our MongoDB database. In terms of everything else, the web crawler has its own documentation. So separate from the rest of the project, you could easily take this web crawler and run it and download a variety of different articles. And instead of inserting them into a MongoDB database, you could do whatever else you want to do with it. And it also, the GitHub page for the web crawler also includes the future tasks, things that need to be worked on, possible bugs, and other relevant information. And this makes it really easy for someone new to come onto the project and kind of continue development. And this was just a list of the Python libraries that we made use of. News Please, PyMongo, Newspaper, and NLTK. Newspaper was great because it allowed us to scrape all of the home pages for the news sites, and then News Please are the actual downloading and parsing of the article URLs from the home pages. PyMongo allowed us to connect the script to our MongoDB database, and NLTK had the natural language processing functionality that was important. Okay, next slide.
All right, for the current state of Padlock News, we have a functioning user interface, backend, and web scraper, which means the project is actually usable, which is something I'm proud of. I also began integration with Blockstack. For the fun part, we get to see the actual application now. So if we go to the next slide. So as you can see, the application is a basic Material UI application. The top news and then that little color box around it is the category. So currently we're only using top news, but if you remember Dorothy's backend returned a color, so that color can like separate the categories, and then eventually like users will be able to select technology, things like that, technology, fashion, politics. These are clickable, so if you go to the next slide. This is something we want to improve, but basically it just dumps the text of the article itself and the title, and then data is written on and the author of the article. So here's the top article from the previous slide, and yeah, users are able to read and it's functioning. Next slide. We have a couple of things we want to do with Padlock News. We want to integrate more with Blockstack. So the next step for actually adding personalization to the application, we'll need Blockstack, so storing user history, things like that. On the same note, we would also like to further develop the algorithm to personalize that news feed. So once we get some more functionality with Blockstack, we'll add the personalization engine in. And then we also want to get the web scraper to run every hour or so. We can set that on a web on some sort of server, things like that. And then we can host the actual application on the server. Are there any questions? Next slide. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just I just carried on for a good 2 minutes without without you guys being able to hear me. So if nobody else has any questions, I'll ask one question. And by the way, Spiral Stats is next. So if you guys want to release the screen, we'll let Spiral Stats get set up while actually, I guess I have the screen. Spiral Stats, do you want me to present, or do you want to present?
If possible, I'd like to present.
Okay. Why don't you get yourself? You should be able to take over the screen. I think if you have problems, let me know, and I will switch to you in a second. So the question I had was, you guys have a really good way of working together with your Trello and your assignments. Have you given any thought to how you might want to change your, to how you might want to bring other people in? Is there some changes you would have to put in order to work better with, people who aren't taking this for credit or class or anything like that?
Yeah, so changes with regard to that, we'd have to make new branches, of course. We might also need to add more documentation, because currently we have documentation, it's just maybe not too specific. So making the project more like friendly to adding new people would be good with regard to documentation. Trello is pretty easy. You just add a new member and then assign them a task. So I don't see any real changes that could be made there. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the only thing I would add is that we might use the issue system that GitHub has, that we could actually, if there's a problem or a bug or something like that, we could make use of that. But otherwise, at least for me, coming into this project, the structure that we had worked pretty darn well for us, which was awesome.
Cool. Any other thoughts, Dorothy?
I think we have like README for me, at least, for API, and for other stuff they've worked on. They also have README, which make someone who's new, they can just take a look at these and then continue to work.
Cool. All right. Very good. If no one else has any questions, we will turn it over to Spiral Stats.
Thank you.
All right. No more questions. Go ahead, guys.
All right. Is the screen sharing?
I thought it was, isn't it?
Oh, I got a yes. So,
Okay.
So, hello. This is Ryan, the lead from Spiral Stats. Spiral Stats was made by me, Shamar, Arya, Colton, and Josh. Currently, Colton is here. If you want to say hi, Colton.
Hi, how's it going?
Nice. And we'll just get right into it. So the description of the project is there anything blocking your screen? Because on my screen, I've never shared on WebEx. There's something on my screen. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, cool. This is a couple extra things. Okay, cool. The description of the project is this should be what we're creating is a all-in-one place for fantasy football to play with friends or family. The main features would be being able to go to any other client, for instance, ESPN, and load in your league from there, or host your own league from the website itself and get relevant news based for your team, get advice for trades and who to look at to pick up, and really just to help you win some games. So far, this project uses Python Flask, Bootstrap, and HTML to make it run. I'm going to pass it off to Colton to talk about our project organization.
So the main way we organized is we did agile type scrum meetings after every RCOS meeting. This works well for a small team, but there's some things that we want to improve, like new members. We don't have a very detailed README right now, so we want to improve that for new members to join in the future. And also, a lot of people are taking it for no credit, so that leads to some weeks with no work and some weeks with a lot of committed work. And it would be more consistent if everyone had skin in the game.
Yeah. I heard from another group that used Trello. We might want to look at that for next semester, because this is the first semester we've been doing this project, so that might be a good add-on to our project. All right, progress so far. So currently, the program has the ability to go to any ESPN league you currently have, whatever, any specific one you want. If you have a current league, all we need is your league ID, and then it can give you league-specific data such as who's in it, what's their team name, who's on their team, which is very good. That was like one of the first things we had to get done, because when it comes to doing anything with fantasy football, you need the data. And so that was the main first thing to get done. That was basically the theme of this semester, was getting the data. The second thing we got was general data from Yahoo. So Yahoo Sports is another place to play fantasy football, but we do not have league-specific data from there. So if you had a Yahoo league and you said, "Oh, this is my league ID. Can I put it on your website?" Currently, that is no. But we have some general data that we didn't get from ESPN. Very valuable, and we'll probably use that data later on to make predictive stuff to help you, like probably using machine learning. Haven't gotten close to that yet. Still working on some basics. But that data later on will be used to predict who you think will do good this week, who do you think will do bad this week. And finally, the progress we've been making is making some basic functions to show that will be like some main features on the website, such as shows the matchups for the week and showing the quote unquote ultimate team of the week, which is a fun feature I made. And I'm going to continue on to show the first one. So this is the matchup. So we have two teams here. This is just a basic HTML and Bootstrap to make this. There's still a lot of polishing to do. But we have two teams, their team names, who's on their team, the picture of them, and their now points of the week. That's that progress. And this is also very basic, just showing off who's the top people of the week in every position. This could probably be made more clear, but currently this is what we have. And if you have any questions or you want to contact me, that is the information.
All right. Do we have any questions for Spiral Stats? All right. So I actually have my microphone on this time, so you guys don't have to listen to silence for too long.
Mm-hmm.
We got a comment. Whoever had Tyreek Hill last week caught a W.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, one of the questions I have I want to ask you is, so we've had a number of projects on fantasy football. It seems to be fantasy football and Bitcoin or bit, some bit blockchain type projects, and the stock market are perennial favorites. Did you look at anything that's out there to see how other people are running it, or what if you could learn some lessons from what they had out there?
Not so far. I know during somewhere in semester you gave us some resources to look at. Still have to do that. I was caught up doing my own functions, but that is definitely something I should look at. Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew Reuter reminds me that it was second string was one of them. So it's just there's definitely getting the data is, I know that was a good place to start concentrating, but that's a place where you could very easily glom onto something that somebody else has published open source and get some benefit out of that.
Absolutely.
So the other thing I guess I wanted to ask. So you mainly got through. So is that a functional page or is that just a mock-up?
Functional page.
Okay. So cool. So you did make some inroads. Excellent. All right. I think any other questions about Spiral Stats? Is this just fantasy football, by the way, or is this generally more applicable to other sports as well?
Probably be easily translated, but for now it's just football.
Okay. The hard part would be finding, having found the stats for football, the hard part would be finding stats for other sports, I think. At least that's a possibility.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Let's see. I have my next presentation is Tempoture. Do we have Tempoture here?
Yep, we're all here.
Go ahead.
Can you present for us?
I can present for you.
Awesome.
I've been practicing. Let's see. Start my video. Go to. I need to go to again. Full screen. There we go. And now I've got to find you on.
It should be in the slides channel.
Yeah. There's Lavender. There's Frank. Smob and MarketBot. They were. Hotbox, Smart Rider. Poll Buddy. There we are. I
Yep.
see it. It slid down below the. Nope. It's not you.
It's
That's
the one
other
above
cameras.
that.
The one above that.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm not really good at clicking today, and I need access. Can you guys?
Oh,
give
you
me
do?
access?
Okay. Yeah. I think I fixed it.
There we go.
Awesome. Okay. Hey everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Tempoture. Next slide. So I'm Andrew Reuter. I was a project manager, and then if everyone else would like to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Alice, and I worked on front end.
Hi, I'm G. I work on front end.
Hi, I'm Widden. I worked on the back end.
Hey, I'm Sheldon. I worked on the database.
I am James. I also worked on the database.
I'm Mark. I work on the task runner.
Awesome. Next slide. So Tempoture is a application designed to link users to a playlist based on their current weather, and we take this by correlating their listening habits through their listening history and the change in the weather through the use of a machine learning model. So our semester goal was to be able to collect Spotify listening history and weather history from users to train a machine learning model. Next slide. So for the organization, we use separate GitHub repositories in an overarching GitHub organization. Each person worked on a different part of it. So front end, back end, a task runner, and then the database. And then we also divided each of those areas into separate pipelines and applications on Heroku, which were linked to our GitHub repositories, and they auto-deployed from there. Additionally, we also used the GitHub's project tab to try to stay organized and assign tasks. So it separated tasks into 3 different categories: to do, in progress, and finished. Next slide.
This is Chi. Together with Alice, I work on front end. We use Figma to complete the user flow design of the web pages and React.js to build the front end app. I mainly worked on the functions using Spotify web APIs to allow users to log in with their Spotify accounts and to get the authentication for users' basic information and their recently played tracks and send them to the backend by an access token. And Alice also focused on the UI. As you can see, this is a screenshot of our front page. Next slide, please.
Hi, my name is Whitten, and this is my first semester working on Tempoture and my first semester in RCOS. For Tempoture, I did most of the backend work, which was all written in Python. My main job for the backend this semester was to gather a user's current weather and Spotify data to store in our database. I was able to do this by connecting our backend app to 3 different APIs. Firstly, I used the IP geolocation API. By passing in a user's IP address, I'm able to get their relative zip code, which will then be passed into the Open Weather API. This API then returns current weather information based on their location. The data returned from this can include values such as average temperature, cloudiness percentage, or snow volume. And then lastly, I used the Spotify API. And with this, I was able to fetch a user's 50 most recently played Spotify songs to store in our database as well. And for now and into the future, the next step for the backend is to create custom Spotify playlists for our users with the data we've acquired. And we can go to the next slide.
I'm Sheldon Jackson, and this semester I worked on a few things. The first thing I worked on was both encryption and decryption. I chose Python with AES encryption that uses a 128-bit key and a 64-bit IV. What this means is the key scrambles the text pseudo-randomly, while the IV is an initialization vector that changes the text pseudo-randomly. So this way we can store users' passwords safely when we start being able to have users make accounts. I also worked on the connection from the front end to the back end. For this, we used an open source software called CORS Anywhere. CORS Anywhere is an open source Node.js proxy, which adds CORS headers to a provider request from the front end to the back end using JavaScript. I also worked on the connection from the back end to the database using SQL Alchemy, which is a library in Python, which also incorporates Scicop G2, which is Postgres SQL queries being used in Python. Next page.
Hey everyone, this is Jim. I also worked on the database. As you can see on the slide, this is our most updated schema for the database. As you can see at top left, we have all the users' data. And top right, we have their location data. Bottom right, all of their weather and the music data in the bottom left, and all the connections in between them. There was actually another version earlier in the semester, but after some testing, we noticed that some connections were wrong. So we came up with this. The testing that I did on the database, I wrote a function to insert into each table and a function to query from each table to make faster testing and to make it easier for new users to see in code how exactly the database is working. All of that can be found on the README. And I updated the README very specifically to have all the information that I found useful when learning how to do database work, as I've had no prior experience. So I put a little blurb about each software, an installation guide for the software, and some useful resources in learning how databases work. And finally, I had a temporary password generator made as users have passwords, but they can log in through Spotify or through Tempoture directly. So I have a temporary password generator to provide them with a temporary password until they eventually make an account for Tempoture. And that's it for me. So next slide.
I'm Mark. So for the first part of this semester, I was working to help with the backend, and the second half of the semester, I started to work on the task runner. So as you can see from the graph, the task runner is supposed to send requirements to the backend for every 3 hours to update the data, weather data to the data store, and every day for the backend to update the Spotify user soundtracks to the data store. So I used the Python's A/B scheduler for this task runner as recommended by the Heroku. And the current state of this project is that I have stand up a template version of the task runner and run it successfully on the Heroku. However, since the backend update function hasn't been finished yet, so my future plan is try to have the backend to develop data update functions and merge my task runner into their repository. Next slide.
So the current state of Temperature is that we have a fully connected application that can take a user's listening and weather history and store it into our database. We still need to, as Mark just said, to connect the task runner to the backend so we can have it continually update without having to manually run the scripts themselves. Currently, everything's hosted on Heroku. We are fine with the setup that we have currently, so I think we're going to stick with that. And then, as Sheldon also mentioned earlier, we're using an open source Node.js proxy called Cores Anywhere to help connect the front end and back end. And then we're also on making a algorithm for curating and adding playlists to user Spotify accounts. Next slide. And then for the future of Temperature, we would like to finish developing that algorithm to create playlists for users. We would also like to make our own Node.js proxy so we don't rely on a different one. We also want to collect more data to train our model. And then obviously to train the model, we would have to create it first. So that's the next course of action. And then finally, we'd want to add a page for users to view analytics on their listening history and weather trends to kind of give back to them since we are taking a bunch of their data. Yeah, next slide. Any questions?
You guys are very quiet today. No questions at all for our Tempoture? Okay, so let me ask you. So this is are you looking at training the model for everybody, so that under the assumption that people in general like to listen to a specific genre of music based on the weather forecast, or are you looking to train it individually based on a person's specific likes during weather patterns?
So we want to start by specifically basing it on a person's individual likes. If we can't really, get enough data to develop that, we're going to try to move to a larger scope of like regional likes, so like city and stuff like that. And then after that, we're going to try to look at certain like weather regions, so like Southwest, Northeast, stuff like that. So we're gonna start at the shoot high and then see where we end up after that.
Okay, because it's there is the problem of gathering data, but there's also the idea that it would be far more, maybe I get very depressed on sunny days. Maybe I want something nice and slow or something. And everybody else is up with playing volleyball or something on the beach. Cool. One of the things that you're kind of talking about rewarding people with analytics on their own listening habits as one sort of reward, but this really could benefit from crowdsourcing. So have you given any thought as to how you might go out, particularly if you want to do it, particularly if you get off of an individual, right? And you get on to trying to do it for a population in an area. A crowdsourced solution would allow you to gather a lot of data that's broadly applicable fairly quickly. Maybe have you kind of given any thought to how you might go ahead and do that, or what you could actually offer people?
Yeah, so I was looking into a couple of databases that are like readily available from Spotify, and it's just like the top 200 songs listened for like a certain city or whatever. That's about the extent that I've researched that. I haven't really thought about how to get back to more of a specific community other than maybe a playlist, but I feel like the analytics, if a user is it'd be a little bit easier to make that for a user than it would be to curate a playlist.
Yeah, although the idea that you could grab the top 200 songs in a specific geographic region or a city or whatever over the course of over a year, for example, right? I mean, you have the weather you can get the weather patterns for that city at the same time, so it actually seems like that may be a whole list of data that can get you over this initial hump and at least
Yep.
serve to seed something. As you gather, if I come in as a listener, you're either going to give me something random to begin with until you have enough data to begin making good predictions, or you're going to have to start from someplace, right?
Yeah.
And this might allow you to start from someplace. That would help you bring people in. So that's actually a very interesting thing you brought up. Anyway, it's interesting thoughts here. Anybody else have any questions now that I've broken the ice? Boom, boom. By the way, the place I grew up is in Western New York, and there's 365 days in a year, and I think on average they had 60 something non-overcast days. They were in the heart of Buffalo's snow belt, so most of that was snow. Just thought that, as a kind of a weather connection, it was kind of interesting or worth throwing out. Nothing? All right. Let's see. The next team. Well, the next team is personal website template, which I think is a single person.
Yep.
Let's. We will get set up. How do you want to do it, Benji?
Would you mind pulling up the slides? So,
no,
okay.
I don't mind at all.
Thank you very much.
Let's see. You were earlier, I think. There we go.
Awesome. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Benji, and my project is personal website template. Next slide. So, as Professor Turner said, I am the sole developer on this project. Kind of started it this semester, and it was a smaller project, so didn't feel the need to reach out and start a team on it. Next slide. So, what this project is, it's basically a template that allows other people to easily make their own website with how many different places or information is stored on and how many different social media websites there are. I kind of think it's important now when applying to jobs and just in general to kind of consolidate all of that into one place that kind of has all your information. As I said, I started this semester, and my goal was kind of to spread this through RCOS and kind of encourage people to create their own websites. Next slide. So obviously there wasn't any team communication since I was the only one working on this. I used an MIT open source license, pretty standard. And the way that other people can use this, I kind of figured that if people wanted to make their own, they could just fork their repository into their own GitHub. And I laid out instructions on how to customize and make your personal website public. I had no prior front-end development experience, so I used HTML and CSS to create the website. Next slide. So the website's live right now, hosted by GitHub. I think they do free hosting. I'm not sure to what extent, but I was able to get my website hosted for free by them. So I learned a lot from having no prior front-end development. I kind of learned how larger and larger scale websites are built and how small animations and features can make a website look 10 times better. I also commented like crazy so that other people could easily make their own. I wanted to make it as simple as possible for them to get started. I also outlined clear steps in the README on how to replicate and use my template to make your own. So what did I accomplish? It was really kind of like an open ended task to make a personal website, really something that I thought looked good and that other people would easily be able to make their own. I accomplished everything I wanted to. At least I think it's a nice looking website. But obviously there's endless things that you can do and expand upon. Next slide. Next slide. Oh wait, sorry, future plans. I'm sorry. I just skipped that one. I didn't see any changes. So future plans, until the end of the semester, I'm definitely going to keep on playing around with different features, adding as many different cool little things on the website as possible. The main thing that I want to accomplish in the next week or two is to add some nice way to add personal projects. I'm a CS major, so for others, you can add your projects and make it look nice and kind of consolidate that into one area. I want to continue learning front-end tools such as JavaScript. I'm playing around with some cool animations things such as particles, which adds a little cool effect to the page. And I want to reach out to some people maybe that run Observatory and possibly incorporate this somehow to encourage everyone in RCOS to make their own website. And I think that's it. Questions? And then there's my website and then the GitHub repository.
Do you mind if I show you your website, Benji?
No, go for it. If you refresh it, there's a text animation that I like to see. Yeah, so all this was done during using CSS and HTML, and then I had added little effects on the icons and my image.
Any questions for Benji while you guys are? I think I've asked every question so far. I'm not used to this. All right, so here we go. I liked your allusion, your reference to Observatory. We do have, and let me see if they are in here. No, Antonia has been working on, is the latest person to be working on a refresh of Observatory.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think would be interesting is if this were something that as you know, as people join into RCOS, you know, this is some of the information that we actually have, right? Their GitHub account, right. LinkedIn, etc. I don't think we have Facebook or LinkedIn, but you know, certainly we have their GitHub account. So.
Sorry, what was Frank's question?
Not sure if you mentioned this, but is the repo set as a template repository on GitHub that makes it super easy for people to fork it and go?
It is not. I did not know that was a feature, but I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, that might be a cool thing to kind of look into. I'm not all that familiar with that either, or I should say I'm not familiar with that at all either, but that would be
right.
An interesting. Keeping up with Git is difficult. So anyway, one of the things that this would be interesting to see whether we could pull this together into another open source project like Telescope or something, so that or at least put a link in there so that as people come into RCOS, they have the ability. I don't know if we want to require everybody to
right.
tell us too much about themselves, but certainly it helps me know them when I'm looking for information on what they do. But certainly giving them the opportunity, this could certainly be a replacement for our developers page, or it could certainly play well with our developers page. As
right. So the repository on my GitHub is definitely very personalized, but we could easily make it even more of a template just so that people just add their information and then it's ready to go. So I feel like there's a lot of room to run with this if Observatory developers wanted to continue with this.
Yeah, why don't you reach out to Antonia? Antonia Kalia Bogan, I think.
Okay.
She's gonna be. I think, if unless she's already gotten another offer, I think she's gonna be working on this her semester away in the spring. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out to.
Cool. Any other questions for Benji? Of course, we could also integrate this in with Tempoture and get Spotify playlists popped up there, depending on the weather. There's all sorts of.
Yeah, you could add a little widget to it.
Yeah, all sorts of different integrations we could put here. We could have your fantasy football league up there.
We combine all the project into a super project.
Exactly. That would be cool. All right, we are actually ahead of schedule today, or at least on schedule today, which is really unheard of. Let me take a look. I think the next one is the Lavender programming language. Thalia, I think you're the chief on that.
Most likely.
How do you want to run this?
I have the presentation pulled up on my machine. If it's easier for me to just present that and share the window.
It's whatever is easiest for you is easiest for me.
So do I just click the presenter button?
Yeah, or the share content button. It kind of depends.
Yeah, no, I'm using the web view, so there's less features in that one.
Okay, probably. Does it work for you?
I don't know if it's displaying anything.
It isn't so far, but let me see whether it says you think you're presenter. Oh, maybe it's. Huh. Maybe I just have this locked on. Yeah, I'm not seeing you come up yet. There we go. But you're blank.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. That is a shame. I do have to be on my Linux partition for this because Lavender is written in Rust.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
You don't have a share content next to
I do have a share link.
Yeah, try that.
I do have a share link. It's in the slides channel. If you scroll.
I was thinking the share button on the WebEx screen. There's no share button as opposed to.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's do this. Oh, come on. It will not let me select a tab, which is annoying. All right, I'll just share my entire screen. Y'all are gonna get to see that I'm in the Eastern time zone.
Well, that's a good looking picture you got there.
Haha, no, that's probably you.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was being.
I know. WebEx is weird, especially on the.
Yeah, WebEx
All right.
is weird.
So now, if I click present, it should be presenting.
You are now
right?
presenting, and you're looking good.
That is good. Harry, are you here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can. It's wonderful. Everything is right with the world. No, everything's not right with the world. But what can we do? That's why we have Lavender. No, it's not why we have Lavender. Anyway, this is the Lavender programming language, also known as Lavender. It's named after a plant and also of a political movement, but we're not going to get into that right now. So I'm Talia. I'm the whoever it's called for this project, and I've been working with
Project lead.
Project lead, yes. Thank you.
Got it.
And Hari and I have been working on Lavender. So, in case anyone's forgotten, from the beginning of the semester, Lavender is a pure functional programming language based roughly syntactically on Haskell for the third iteration that we're doing right now. Lavender aims to be a functional programming language with no non-reference counted garbage collection. And this iteration is implemented in Rust. Wow, okay. All right, well, there is an image here. That's the image. That is the image of our literal project structure. We're using Cargo, Rust's package manager, to as our package manager. It has built-in unit tests, so unit testing is incredibly easy for this. All those files you see in that image that is now in this embedded screen have both the definitions of certain things and the tests for them, so it's all nice and close together. And the important parts this semester that we worked on were the parser and the AST mainly. The tokenizer was already done before. Right. Hopefully this will work. I don't know why that slide didn't reload. Anyway. So progress has been somewhat less than expected this semester. We had planned to get the full interpreter up and running. That unfortunately did not happen this semester because symbol resolution, the process of turning all of the symbols into useful things, took a lot longer than expected. You could see that very long test case there. So because of that, the static typing stuff did not really get looked at. Hari also did a bit of stuff with error feedback and yeah, that's what happens when you share your screen. There was also some stuff with error feedback, implementing error nodes into the parse tree, which were previously not there. Before, we would just error out the application if something didn't parse, but now there are error nodes. So I ended up tackling the humongous ridiculousness that was symbol resolution. I thought it was going to take 2 weeks. Spoiler, it did not take 2 weeks. It took 2 months. Mainly because the design was flawed twice. All because of difficulties regarding scopes of variables, and especially with regards to like specific cases, like the previous slide, that long lambda is. And also, some of the unit tests did not test all of the cases, and so bugs slipped through. So let this be a warning for the future. Unit tests are only useful when you actually test for all the cases. But fortunately, tests were added for those cases. And that test pass 57 is the result of a lot of work. On a lighter note, I also set up continuous integration with Travis and use the Clippy package to enforce a consistent to catch a bunch of warnings in Rust code. And it turns out I'd been doing some stuff that was dubious, and Clippy told me. So it's useful. Harry?
All right, so my name's Harry, and so first I want to thank Talia for letting me work on this project and teaching me so much. I learned a lot more than I could have imagined, especially having no background in programming languages before this. So thank you, Talia. So on to what I did, apart from learning, is a lot of wikis. So we'll get to the whole programming thing in a bit because that was kind of hard. But so I made a couple of wikis. Right now, as I stand at the current time, pretty close to contributing some code. Really want to try to before the semester ends. But onwards with the wiki. So I made a setup guide, which includes a quick start guide as well as a fix for a common problem here. So Talia uses IntelliJ, so she didn't have this issue, but I use VS Code, and there is a problem with cargo and the VS Code remote extension. So I did some research and I was able to find both a workaround and an actual solution for that. So that's nice. All of that information is detailed in that wiki. And then next, I guess, for the meat is another wiki regarding traits and types. So traits in Rust are really useful, and there's a lot of traits implemented in Lavender. So, something important to learn. So there's a wiki there. And there's two more wikis here. As you can see, there's a history of Lavender, which is a work in progress. I thought that would be sort of nice to give a little background for how Lavender version 3, which is the current version, came to be, and all the previous versions, and that sort of thing. Definitely we're going to finish that before the end of the semester. And then the other one is Lavender syntax, sort of how Lavender syntax works. It's as Talia mentioned, somewhat similar to Haskell, but I want to make a little bit more, expand on that a little bit more. So yeah, that's coming soon. And finally, we have error nodes here. So this is still in the attempting phase. So the job here is to walk the parse tree and collect all the error nodes, which is essentially a BFS implementation in Rust, and where each node is a separate struct or enum. So to me, it's pretty complicated, but I want to try and do this before the semester ends, just to learn. At the very least, hopefully, I can finish like BFS in Rust or something. But yeah. Next slide.
And now for a short demo. Unfortunately, as said before, Lavender doesn't actually run yet, but we can print out the parsed abstract syntax tree. So we're halfway there if you really think about it. All you have to do, I'm going to pull this up. And I probably should have done this before, but nope, it's not that one. It's that one, yes. Excuse me. Fair enough. So if we type in, let's say, this is a definition which results in the constant 2, and it prints out a definition resulting in the constant 2. So I think we're halfway there. That's the type, that's the name, that's the expression body. So it parses fine. And if we have an error node, A has not been defined, so we end up with an error.
So can you take that from a file and do a bigger one yet, or are you still not quite there?
We're not quite there. All that has to be done to be able to read files is to instead of accepting this on the command line, to read it from a specified file instead. So it's just a question of setting up I/O.
Mhm.
So not that complicated to read from a file.
Cool.
Yeah. But the most. I believe that's it in the presentation slides. So there's the question slide here, but this is the questions time.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Talia or Hari? Come on, guys. All right.
Come on, don't you want to hear about the weird and wacky thing that is this language?
So yeah, one of the things that I'm interested in. There's a couple things here that I'm interested in. One of the things I'm interested in is you have to have some kind of definition of the parsing, right? I mean, I think that's one of the things Hari was working on was the language specification. Did you guys put what if I wanted to learn what Rusty Lavender or Lavender is going to be about? Is there a place I could go now and kind of get into that and see what's actually there?
Not at the moment. That's a work in progress, but end of the semester is the plan for that to be completed. Sorry for the delay.
No, that's okay. But so you guys are just kind of making up the syntax as you go along, or do you?
Oh no, Talia has that under control. But yeah, it's just not documented.
Okay.
Yeah, documenting it is mostly going to be a matter of placing the syntactic components spread sporadically throughout the code base into an actual document, so that you can see little bits of the syntax in the README and in the standard library repository that is mainly functioning as a future test case.
Because it would be good, that's one of the things where if you're working on a language and you would like to bring other people into it either to help develop it or more importantly to use it, that's one of the things that would be kind of cool to get out there and have people banging on a little bit. So I would kind of recommend
that would
that
be
as
useful.
as a sooner rather than later type of improvement. But that's
what with the whole being remote all the time and everything has been a lot. I didn't factor that enough into the schedule.
And by the way, I did want to say that as far as your progress in discovering that symbol evaluation is hard. I like the way you guys kind of pivoted on that, right? So rather than pursuing an unrealistic schedule, you put more effort into symbol resolution and kind of buckled down and got that solid to the point where we can look at your parse tree at least for some part of the language construct. So I think that was a nice. I actually liked that part of the presentation that you guys didn't. When you found out something was a lot harder, you didn't, give up or despair. You just kind of rescheduled. So that was really useful. Good job on that.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, I forgot to mention this, but if you notice, where'd my mouse pointer go? Yeah. If you notice here, we have index and length, and those are the index and length in the source code of this. So in preparation for actual printing out error messages, the exact location.
Cool. I guess that's what Hari's going to work on before the end of the semester is kind of collecting all those nodes. Is that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I also want to kind of comment on your testing and continuous integration. Another thing that I kind of liked about your presentation, I want to kind of point out. I had a friend that I worked with who used to say, if it's not tested, it's broken, because it's more the other way around. If it's broken, we've generally found out it wasn't tested. But we were maintaining fairly big libraries, and that was his big one of his many clever sayings. But that almost always turns out the best way to get these things fixed is exactly what you guys are doing. Write tests, run the tests. When you find out the tests aren't enough, add another test. Because
Yeah.
you're right. Without how
Actually,
did you get
this.
to that line though? Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking about.
Oh yeah, this is the test. So this is kind of this long line here is just a test for a bunch of that has a bunch of little symbol resolution pieces in it. It has a bunch of A's. A lot of the A's are different A's, and so they shouldn't be confused with one another. The right half and left half are testing slightly different things, but they are related things, so they're in the same test.
Cool.
This one is testing sibling scopes in the same parenthesis level, and this one's testing sibling scopes in different parenthesis levels.
Cool. That was one of the things I was thinking about when you're going through was, you don't stumble on this test right away. There would be no way for you to sit down and write this immediately. At least that's my impression. It looks like that's something where you were finding an error, and in replicating the error, you ended up with this.
Yeah. So infix, prefix, nested prefix.
So that's cool. All right. Any other questions before we keep talking amongst ourselves about different aspects of this project? All right. So we're 10 after. I think that's a pretty good timeline. I think, unless anybody else has questions for Lavender, I'm feeling good about kind of ending our day to day. We certainly have put in a good day's work, and we will see you all on Tuesday, I believe.
Tuesdays.
Yep. One more
I
week
have
to go.
no memory of Tuesdays.
Two more classes or meetings, whatever we call these. Thank you all. It was really nice. Some good presentations today, and we will regroup again in 4 days. Bye.
Thank you.
Let me pop up. There we go. I will share my video again, so I don't look like a. There we go. All right. So. We'll see you later. A lot of work just to get that wave in there. Sometimes
Everyone left already.
it's you, me, and Justin. So who else is there?
I wonder if Justin's actually here.
Justin tends to hang on a little bit past the meeting, so I think he's he may have snoozed a little bit. Thanks a lot, Todd. That was it's an interesting. I'm not surprised you ran into problems. I thought you had a very ambitious schedule, but I like the way that you guys just kept pushing on.
In hindsight, it was an ambitious schedule.
I've been bit before by ambitious schedules, so I was not surprised when you had to back off. So that's not really an issue at all. So good job. It's kind of fun to see you guys progressing.
It's been like a kind of continuous curse of. Because I've been working on something called Lavender since like freshman year, and it's been a kind of curse that it's never ready for advent of code. It's like I tried to do Advent of Code with Lavender version 1 in 2017, and Lavender v1 was too slow. So I rewrote it Lavender v2 for Advent of Code 2018, and it was slightly faster, but it was also too slow. It was too much list copying, too much copying vectors and such, and very long linear searches and computationally expensive things that could not be done. And so, this needs static types.
So your language keeps getting, in order to make it faster, keeps getting more and more complicated on the parsing.
Yeah. Well, the parsing's not the most complicated part. The parsing's actually fairly mindless. The hard part is the semantic analysis, the symbol binding, and the type checking. Type checking's going to be a bit of a doozy.
Well,
I mean, like,
go ahead.
not like both like on the theory side for at the actual type inference algorithm, and for the how in the heck we're going to implement it.
There's reasons for requiring people to tell you what the type is ahead of time.
Yeah, there are. I mean, but you still have to type check.
You still have to type check. Yeah.
And type checking and type inference are two sides of the same coin.
Well, I look forward to seeing you make more progress on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep my eyes open for the Lavender program.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully it'll be ready for Ladvent of Code 2021.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, right?
Yes, our collective fingers crossed.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to head up and have dinner with my family, and we will catch you on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.